One of the saddest things to note about Batman is that in the end, everything about him comes down to one hole in the ground. An alleyway is a kind of pit. A city is a kind of pit. A mind, left alone long enough with its own ghosts, is absolutely a pit. Bruce Wayne spent his entire life trying to climb out of that first one, the night his parents died. And for the most part, he did. He put on a mask, he made the pain into purpose, and he convinced himself that if he could just suffer enough, if he could just hurt in the right direction, Gotham might finally be free. But there's a different kind of horror in realizing that maybe the pit doesn't let you go. Maybe it just changes shape. In one world, Bruce is broken by Bane, thrown into that stone prison at the end of the world, and he manages to claw his way back out. He returns to Gotham, stops the bomb, proves that the child of the pit can rise without hatred. It's poetic. It fits nicely on a poster. But what if he failed? What if the man who climbed out of that hole wasn't Bane, but Bruce? And what if he climbed out at the wrong time, in the wrong way? What if Bruce Wayne never escaped the pit as Batman? And instead, the pit kept him, broke him, and eventually sent him back to Gotham as its new Bane. Gotham has fallen apart. 8 years after the Joker, after Harvey Dent's death, after Batman vanished into the shadows, Bruce Wayne has become a ghost in his own house, limping through hallways, hiding behind a cane and a beard, living on the edge of oblivion. Then Bane arrives. The city trembles. The symbol of the Batman, already cracked, is finally broken. Underground in the sewers, Bane shatters Bruce's back and his myth in one cruel motion. He calls him a pretender. He tells him he was born in the dark. He tells Bruce he merely adopted it. And then he throws him into a stone cylinder in some forgotten desert. The pit. A prison that is also a wound in the earth where people come to rot with their regrets. In the main timeline, Bruce heals. He watches Gotham suffer on flickering television screens. He learns the story of the child who escaped the pit. He trains, climbs, falls, climbs again, and eventually leaps without the rope, embracing fear as his ally. He climbs out. He returns to Gotham. You know how that goes. But in this world, something goes wrong in the moment that matters most. Bruce trains. He does the push-ups, the pull-ups, the slow, agonizing stretches on the rope. The old prison doctor sets his spine, his bones knit with a sickening crunch, and Bruce starts to heal the only way he knows how, by refusing to rest. He stares up at that shattered circle of sky every day. He listens to the story of the child over and over. He burns the image of Bane into his brain. He makes his first climb. He fails. He falls. The rope catches him. He screams. His back almost snaps again. He lies there gasping in the dust, surrounded by laughing corpses who haven't died yet. He makes his second climb. He gets farther this time. He times the leaps between the crumbling stones with a tactician's eye. He knows the distance. His fingers brush the ledge before his hand slips on sand. He falls. Again the rope stops him. Again the pit chuckles like a hungry throat. The third time he remembers the child. He remembers the story. The leap without a rope. It isn't the fall that scares him. It's what happens if he succeeds. Face the possibility that he might lose again. Bruce's voice is a gravelly whisper. How long? 3 days. I did what I could. Your spine is not broken again. But your legs, he trails off. Bruce tries to move. Pain answers. His muscles spasm, but there's a deadness creeping up from his feet like frost. He failed. And that failure isn't the kind he can train past. This isn't a bruised rib, a snapped arm, a scraped knuckle. This is the kind of mistake you carry forever. Above him, the circle of light is still there. Smaller somehow. The months that follow are cruel. Bruce tries to stand. At first he can't. His legs shake when he forces them to bear weight. His hands, once steady enough to throw batarangs in a blizzard, now tremble constantly. The pit watches. The prisoners laugh less now. There's something sacrilegious about watching a man try to climb out of hell and fail so catastrophically that hell keeps him. Time is strange in the pit. It isn't measured in days, but in screams, in airless dreams, in the way shadows move across stone. Bruce wakes up sweating from nightmares that feel like memories. Gotham is burning. Bridges collapse. He sees Bane holding a detonator and smiling. He sees Commissioner Gordon on the ice, kneeling before a firing squad. He hears the voice of a young cop named Blake calling out for Batman, and there is no answer. He begs the doctor for news. The television, once a window to Gotham's slow crucifixion, flickers less now. Sometimes it stays black for days. When it works, all he gets are fragments. Mushroom clouds on test footage, government press conferences, stock markets crashing. Eventually he sees it. A single grainy shot of Gotham's harbor. A blinding flash, a ripple of light. The lens burns white. The screen goes dark. The words that follow are simple and terrible. Nuclear detonation. Gotham destroyed. Bruce can't breathe. His lungs compress into fists as he stares at the screen. The footage loops, again and again. The anchor's voice is distant, choked, talking about evacuation failures, last-minute heroism, casualty estimates in the millions. They say the word terrorist, and they show Bane's eyes. Bruce had always thought his greatest fear was failing to save someone he loved. He had never fully considered the possibility he might fail to save everyone. He slams his fists into the rock until skin splits. He screams until his voice is gone. The pit absorbs the sound and gives nothing back. For the first time in his life, he truly, deeply believes that he has lost. After that, something inside him cracks. Bruce stops doing push-ups. He stops asking for ropes. He starts sitting at the bottom of the pit, staring up at the light like it's an accusation. The others leave him alone. He is no longer the strange foreigner who might escape and make the rest of them remember hope. He is a dead man who hasn't laid down yet. The doctor tries, in his own way, to keep the flame alive. "Maybe the reports are wrong," he says one night. "Maybe someone stopped the bomb. Maybe your Gotham still lives." Bruce laughs, and it's a horrible sound. It's not mirth. It's bone dust and glass. "Gotham never lived," he says. "It just kept breathing while it suffocated." He dreams. He dreams of Ra's al Ghul standing at the mouth of the pit, the sand behind him shimmering like it's on fire. He dreams of Bane's hand on his shoulder, heavy, crushing, strangely comforting. "You could not save them," Ra's voice whispers. So the city was allowed to die. Justice, at last. Bruce sees, in his nightmares, the night his parents died. But the gunman is now wearing Bane's mask. He tries to stop him, but when he moves, he feels the weight of a different mask on his own face. The barrel flashes. 2 lives are cut short. He was too slow then, too slow now. There is a particular kind of madness that comes from losing your purpose. Bruce Wayne had always believed he was useful, if nothing else. Take that away, and he's just a broken man in a broken body in a hole that goes nowhere. Weeks pass, months. The ground becomes his bed. The ache becomes his only constant companion. And then, one night, the pit opens. Not metaphorically, literally. The light above flickers in a new way. A rope, a proper one, thick, clean, not the rotting vine they use for training, is dropped down. Men follow it. Not prisoners, not guards. Soldiers. They move with disciplined precision, their boots scraping on stone, their faces masked with black cloth. They carry rifles, but they hold them like accessories, not lifelines. They are comfortable with violence. They speak in a language Bruce recognizes from League of Shadows days. He forces himself to sit up. Their leader steps forward. He is tall, lean, with scars like cracked lightning on his scalp. His voice is cold. "Which one of you," he asks, "is Bruce Wayne?" The prisoners look at one another. They've heard the name. Bruce has been screaming it at his nightmares for months. Slowly, Grudgingly, their eyes shift toward him. Bruce squints up at them. "Who's asking?" "We are what remains of the League," the man says. "What remains of Bane's army. Gotham is gone, but its sin still stains the world. We know who you are. We know what you were." Bruce's heart stutters. Gotham. He swallows. "It was destroyed. The bomb did not behave as planned," the man replies flatly. "The core was unstable. The detonation was partial." There's a faint, bitter humor in his tone, like a man discussing a recipe that didn't quite turn out. The blast ravaged the harbor. It poisoned the river. But the whole city did not die. It lingers. It clings, like a parasite that survives amputation. Bruce closes his eyes. Against his will, a small ember flares. "Gotham is alive?" "Alive," the man says, "and thriving in its decadence. The world pities it. The governments rebuild it. The rich profit from its suffering. Your sacrifice." He looks around pointedly at the pit, at the dirt, at Bruce's wasted frame, "was for nothing." Bruce feels sick. "Why are you here?" he asks. The man kneels, looking him in the eye with a strange kind of reverence. "Because Bane is dead," he says, "and every story needs a new monster." Here is where the story curdles. At first, Bruce thinks it's a trick. The League of Shadows had a habit of seeing people as tools. They break you, remake you, point you at a city and say, "Cleanse." Ra's tried it. Bane tried it. Talia tried it. But they are gone now, scattered to the wind by their own hubris. And what's left is an ideology with no chosen champion. They explain it in fragments. After Bruce fell and failed, the timeline shifted. Without the Batman to return and confront them, Bane and Talia drove their plan forward. The bomb was taken out over the bay, but no one with Bruce's skill was there to guide it. The core detonated at the wrong distance. The blast melted ships, shattered docks, annihilated districts along the water. The heart of Gotham burned, but the outlying boroughs survived, scarred and panicked. The government declared Gotham a disaster zone. They poured money into it. They militarized it. The Dent Act was revised. Organized crime changed its face, but didn't die. The lie that had once tried to make Harvey Dent into a saint was now just one lie among many. People moved on. They always do. The League, watching from the shadows, decided the lesson was incomplete. "We still believe," the man says, "that civilization must be culled, that corruption must be burned away. But we have no symbol now. Bane was a blunt instrument. He broke you. But in the end, he failed. We require someone who understands Gotham from the inside. Someone who has lived both as its prince and its penitent. Someone who has already lost everything." Bruce knows where this is going. He wants to laugh in their faces, but the laugh dies halfway up his throat and comes out as a cough. "I won't help you," he says. The man's eyes crinkle in something that might be amusement. "You already have," he answers. "Your myths built the legend of the Batman. Your enemies built the legend of Bane. Imagine what happens when we combine them. They don't ask for permission. That's the thing about fanatics. They don't negotiate. They sculpt. They drag Bruce out of the pit in chains. The prisoners watch him go with an odd mixture of envy and dread. No one has left that way before. Outward climbs required strength and courage. Leaving through the rope, carried by strangers with guns, feels like death wearing a different face. The sun beats down on Bruce's skin for the first time in what feels like years. It burns. The world outside is wide, empty desert. There are trucks. There are crates with markings he recognizes from old Wayne Enterprises shipments. The League has been busy. They take him to a compound. Concrete, steel, underground labs that smell like antiseptic and old sorrow. They strip him. They examine his scars like a road map. They note the damage to his spine, the weakness in his legs, the residual tremor in his hands. The pain, the doctor murmurs, tracing a knot of scar tissue along his back, must be constant. Bruce grits his teeth. "Get in line." They offer him a choice that isn't a choice. The venom, the League doctor says, not the old man from the pit, but a younger one with steady hands and dead eyes, is imperfect. It amplifies strength, dulls pain, but it destroys the body over time. Bane's lungs were ruined. He required the mask to deliver constant anesthetic. We have refined it. We can stabilize you. Bruce knows what that means. He's seen Bane. He's felt the strength of those hands around his neck. No, he says. They inject him anyway. It burns like liquid fire, crawling through his veins, rushing up his spine. For a moment, his vision goes white. His heart races. Every nerve screams. Then, slowly, the sensation changes. The constant ache in his back recedes, not entirely, but enough that he notices its absence. His legs feel stronger. His fingers stop trembling. He draws a breath without feeling like his ribs might crack. It would be easy to call it a miracle. It is, in truth, just chemistry and cruelty. They show him a mask. It is not Bane's mask, not exactly. It's sleeker, a hybrid of bat and skull motifs, black metal and matte gray, designed to channel vapor along his jawline. Tubes run from it to a harness across his chest, feeding that refined venom into his bloodstream in microdoses. It muffles his voice, shapes it into a deep, measured growl. Not quite the theatrical purr of Batman, not quite the rolling thunder of Bane, something colder in between. This will allow you to move, the doctor says. To fight, to endure. You will not be crippled anymore. You will be something more. Bruce looks at his reflection in a steel plate. The man staring back is half-remembered nightmare, half-new monster. He sees the cowl without ears, the muzzle without mercy. "Why would I help you?" he asks, voice distorted. The League's leader smiles. "Because we will point you at Gotham," he says, "and you will not be able to resist." They are right, and that's the worst part. Because beneath the layers of numbness and rage, Bruce still loves that city. He hates what it allowed to happen. He hates the way it survived the blast by turning its trauma into profit. But he loves it, in the way one loves a flawed child that never learns. The idea of returning, of seeing it again, eats at him. They train him. It's a grotesque echo of his League days with Ra's al Ghul. He learns to fight with his new strength, to control surges of venom, to ration his doses. He discovers that he can lift what he could not lift before. Steel beams, grown men, the weight of his own guilt. He throws soldiers aside like dolls. He breaks concrete with his fists. He never puts on a cape. That symbol is dead. Instead, they give him a coat, heavy and military, and armor plates that echo Bane's tactical gear. On his chest, they paint a rough, fractured bat symbol with 2 lines down the middle, like it's been snapped in half. A mockery of both myths mashed together. Every time he looks down and sees it, something inside him twists. He tells himself he's biding his time, that he will play along until he can strike from the inside, destroy the League once and for all. It's the same lie he told himself years ago when he burned their temple. He doesn't realize that the venom isn't just easing the pain. It's turning down the volume on his conscience, one dose at a time. By now, we're deep enough into this descent that I should probably remind you of one very non-fiction fact. Only about a quarter of the people watching this are actually subscribed to Comics Capsule. Years later, because that's how long it takes to break a man and then sculpt the pieces, Gotham looks different. The blast scar along the harbor has been covered with memorials and new construction. There are shiny towers where rubble once smoldered. Wealthy developers have turned shelters into condos. The poor have been pushed further out. The crime never really went away. It simply rebranded itself. Organized syndicates put on corporate suits. Corrupt cops learned new vocabulary to describe old habits. Commissioner Gordon is older, his hair whiter, his cough worse. He walks with a cane now, not because he was thrown off a bridge or shot, but because time has no respect for war stories. He still carries the weight of the Dent lie. He still wears the guilt of surviving when better men didn't. There is no Batman. There hasn't been one since the day the bomb went off. People tell stories. Some say Batman died in the blast. Some say he flew the bomb out over the bay and vanished. Some insist he never existed, that he was a myth created by a grieving city. Kids play with plastic batarangs manufactured in China, slapping each other on playgrounds and shouting, "I'm Batman," without knowing what that meant. Into this half-healed, half-rotten city comes a whisper. At first, it's just rumors from the Narrows. A warehouse full of weapons found in a pile outside the precinct, their owners hanging upside down from lampposts with their knees shattered. A drug lab collapsed inward like it was crushed by an invisible hand. A gang of traffickers discovered in an alley, trussed together like meat, their bones broken in precise, non-lethal fractures. The reports describe a figure, huge, armored, moving with the uncanny grace of a predator. Some say he wears a bat symbol. Others say he wears a mask like Bane. They start calling him the Breaker. The city, always hungry for drama, has opinions. Some say he's a new Batman, darker and less restrained. Others say he's Bane returned from the grave. Conspiracy forums light up, talk radio hosts rant. Politicians exploit the panic to pass new security measures. Gordon looks at the crime scene photos and feels his stomach knot. The patterns are familiar. The use of fear, the symbolic staging, the particular way bones are broken. Just enough to disable, not always to kill. There is method in the brutality. It feels like Batman filtered through a funhouse mirror. On the roof of the precinct, he lights the old signal one night. Not because he believes anyone will answer, but because rituals are hard to let go. The signal shines through the smog, carving a halo of light through the clouds. For a long time, nothing happens. Then, from the shadows at the edge of the roof, a voice speaks. It's low, metallic, distorted through a mask, but there's a cadence in it that Gordon's bones recognize. "You called," the figure says. Gordon turns, hand instinctively going to his holster. He freezes. The man standing there is massive, broader than Batman ever was, shoulders like a wall, armored plates gleaming dully in the rain. A long coat flaps around him. Tubes snake from a harness on his chest up into a dark muzzle that covers his mouth and nose. And on that chest, painted rough and jagged, is a broken bat. "Who are you?" Gordon asks, though he suspects he already knows. The man tilts his head, remembering an old joke. "You used to call me a friend, Jim," he rumbles. "Now, I suppose you'd call me a mistake." Gordon's heart stutters. "Bruce?" The masked head inclines slightly. "What's left of him?" Gordon steps closer, despite every instinct screaming at him to run. "You died," he says. "We saw the blast." "I failed," the man corrects. "There's a difference." He tells Gordon the short version: the pit, the fall, the league, the venom, the years. Gordon listens, jaw tight, eyes burning. "And now what?" the commissioner asks. "You come back here like this? Dressed like him? Dressed like you and him together?" "I came back to finish what they started," the Breaker replies. "Gotham survived the fire. It learned nothing. The same men who starved your orphanages now make speeches about resilience. The same judges who let the mob walk now chair charity galas. This city needs purification, Jim, not protection." Gordon shakes his head. "That's not justice. That's Bane talking." The Breaker's gloved hand flexes. The tubes hiss softly. "Bane was a blunt instrument," he says. "He wanted annihilation. I've learned subtlety. Fear. Surgical breaks instead of total collapse. I know Gotham's arteries. I know where to squeeze." He steps closer to the edge of the roof, looking down at the bright, indifferent city. "I will break what needs to be broken," he says. "And when it's weak enough, maybe something better will grow from the fractures." Gordon sees, in that moment, the boy from the alleyway, the young man who put on a cape to scare criminals, and the gutted creature standing in front of him now. They are all the same person, cut into pieces and rearranged by trauma and ideology. "Bruce," he says softly, "if you do this, if you become this, there's no coming back." The masked man is silent for a long time. "There's nothing to come back to," he finally says. And then he steps backward into the darkness and is gone. The months that follow are a study in escalation. The Breaker wages a war on Gotham's underworld and upper world simultaneously. He topples crime syndicates, exposes corrupt cops, destroys blackmail files, crashes data centers. He also demolishes entire corporate wings, cripples businesses that built themselves on blood money, sabotages infrastructure projects that he sees as exploitative. To some, he's a folk hero. Citizens in the Narrows cheer when a landlord notorious for evictions ends up hanging from his own building, held up only by cables that creak ominously. Protesters chant his name when a bank that foreclosed on thousands of homes mysteriously loses its records in a small, localized explosion. To others, he's a terrorist. The FBI issues warrants, The mayor blames him for the economic chaos. Newspapers print side-by-side photos, the bat signal and the broken bat on his chest, asking if Gotham has traded one vigilante for a worse one. Peter Parker doesn't exist in this world. Neither does Clark Kent, not in the way we know. It's just Bruce and his city, locked in their toxic dance. There are casualties. A rooftop fight between the Breaker and a group of private security contractors ends with 3 bodies on the sidewalk. He didn't mean to kill them, but he used too much force. His strength, enhanced by venom, is hard to gauge when adrenaline surges. He breaks a man's chest with one punch and hears the ribs snap inward. He watches a guard's head hit the edge of a parapet and crack open like an egg. He goes home, if you can call the underground bunker he's built a home, and he sits alone in the dark with the mask on, because he can't stand the idea of taking it off. The venom whispers numbing lullabies through his veins. He tells himself they were complicit, that they chose their side, that Gotham is a battlefield and people die. The part of him that used to be Batman knows better. It screams under the chemical haze. It gets quieter every time. Alfred isn't there to pull him back. Alfred never saw him return. As far as he knows, his boy died in the blast. Maybe he's sitting in a cafe in Florence, still looking up every time the door opens, hoping and fearing at once. The only one who knows the truth is Gordon. He tries to stop the slide. He sends Bruce files about collateral damage, photos of families of security guards, names, birthdays, little details that make them human. He leaves them in dead drops on rooftops. Sometimes they disappear, sometimes they don't. He meets Bruce in the shadows when he can. "You're going too far," Gordon tells him one rainy night after a courthouse has mysteriously collapsed inward, killing no one but injuring many. "Too far was letting them rebuild on bones," Bruce replies. "I'm just speeding up the inevitable." "This isn't you," Gordon insists. "You fought men like this. You saved people. You could have killed the Joker a dozen times and you didn't. Where's that line now?" Bruce's shoulders rise and fall, the mask hissing softly with each breath. "The Joker knew what he was," he says quietly. "These men wear respectability like armor. They hide behind the law. They are worse. And I am tired, Jim. I am so tired of playing by rules they do not recognize." Gordon realizes, with a slow, horrible clarity, that Bruce hasn't just lost hope in Gotham. He's lost hope in himself. The tipping point comes with a plan that sounds like something Roz would have written on parchment. The League whispers into his ear, even from afar. They feed him intel. They guide his rage. They propose a final act. Not a bomb this time. Not a theatrical siege. But a slow suffocation. The river that runs through Gotham is still mildly radioactive from the partial blast years ago. The city filters its water obsessively. The treatment plants are heavily guarded. The League's plan is simple and elegant in that awful way extremist plans often are. Contaminate the filters, not enough to kill, but enough to poison. Enough to make the city unlivable. Force an evacuation. Turn Gotham into a ghost town, a monument to hubris. Bruce tells himself he can control it. He will scare them, he thinks. He will disable the plants, show them how close they came, force the city to reckon with its fragility. He will not actually poison the water. He will not become that. He raids the plants one by one over weeks, testing security, mapping response times. He dismantles weapons. He knocks guards unconscious and leaves them alive. He feels, for a flicker, like the old Batman again. A shadow moving between lights. The League is impatient. They move without telling him. One night, he arrives at the central plant to find it already under attack, by men wearing gear like his, but cruder, shouting slogans about purification. They've breached the main valve control. They carry canisters of refined venom-based toxin designed to corrupt the filters at a molecular level. Bruce fights them. He tears through them with a fury that scares even him. Bones crack, walls shake, metal twists. The venom in his veins surges in response to adrenaline. His vision narrows to a tunnel of red and gray. He reaches the control room just as one of the zealots is about to dump the toxin into the main intake. The man turns. His eyes are bright with fanaticism. "For the League!" he shouts. Bruce lunges. Time slows. He hits the man. The canister slips from the zealot's hand, spinning in the air. Bruce snatches at it, his fingers close. Too hard. The container crushes like a soda can. Toxin sprays out in a mist, hissing as it contacts the controls, the floor, the open filtration system. Alarms start screaming. On the monitors, Bruce watches the contamination levels spike. Tiny graphs surge upward. Red lights bloom across a schematic of Gotham's water lines. He has just poisoned his own city. Not enough to kill quickly. Not enough to be obvious. Enough to sicken. Enough to ruin land and pipes and trust. Enough to fracture a million lives over months and years. The zealot he hit lies broken at his feet, smiling through blood. "You've done it," the man whispers. "You've become what we needed." Bruce stares at his own hands. They're shaking again, like they did in the pit before the venom. The next hours are frantic damage control. He smashes pipes, diverts flow, overloads systems to shut them down. He triggers emergency purge protocols. He calls Gordon, his voice ragged through the mask, and gives him codes and instructions. He sabotages infrastructure he once funded as Bruce Wayne to minimize the spread. He saves thousands of lives that night. But he can't save all of them. Hospitals fill in the following weeks with people complaining of stomach pains, strange rashes, organ stress. The official line is that it's a minor contamination, a treatable condition. The truth is more complex. Some will live with lifelong health issues. Some will quietly die. Lawsuits are filed. Protests erupt. The mayor blames terrorists. Talk radio blames immigrants. Corporations blame regulators. Regulators blame budget cuts. Gordon knows who is really responsible. Bruce does too. He retreats to his bunker, rips the mask off, and stares at his face in a cracked mirror. The man staring back has hollow eyes, patchy beard, skin crisscrossed with scars. He looks like a ghost wearing someone else's exhaustion. "I did this," he whispers. No one answers, except the hiss of the venom machine and the drip of water somewhere in the dark. He stops taking the injections. The withdrawal is brutal. His body aches like every bone is splintering. His spine feels like it did the day Bane broke him. His legs tremble. He vomits for hours. Sweat soaks the mattress. He hallucinates Ra's, Bane, his parents, Alfred. They all say the same thing in different voices. This was always where the pit was leading him. When he can finally stand again, leaning on a metal bar bolted to the wall, he feels small. Just a man again. Old, broken. His strength is a shadow of what it was. But the fog in his mind is, for the first time in years, thinner. He sees clearly what he's become. Not a savior. Not even a monster with a purpose. Just a man who let his grief be weaponized by people who believed in fire more than healing. A man who tried to fix a city by hurting it harder. A man who became Bane with better intel. He puts the mask back on. Not to use it, just to hold it. It's heavy in his hands. It is the weight of every bad choice he has made in the name of good intentions. He knows now that there is only one thing he can do that might actually help Gotham. He has to stop the Breaker. He has to stop himself. And the only way to do that is to die. The final act comes, as these things often do, in the heart of the city. By now, the government has decided that the Breaker is an existential threat. The contamination incident gave them all the justification they needed. The National Guard is deployed. Drones circle the skyline. There is talk of martial law. The League, sensing their legacy slipping, decides to force a final showdown. They plan a coordinated attack on downtown Gotham. Explosive charges placed in skyscraper basements. Time to bring down the economic heart of the city in a controlled demolition. Not enough to kill millions, but enough to cripple. Enough to send a message. Bruce intercepts the plan from a League courier. He knows the locations, he knows the timers, he knows the structural weak points. He designed half these buildings as Bruce Wayne. He also knows that if he goes in as the Breaker, everyone will assume this was his intention all along. That might be the point. He meets Gordon one last time, on the rooftop where the old signal is rusting. "They're going to hit the financial district," Bruce says, the mask back on, voice low. 6 buildings, 2 hours, I can stop it." "You?" Gordon asks. His eyes are red-rimmed, exhausted. "You expect anyone to believe that?" "No," Bruce says. "And that's the idea." Gordon understands in an instant. "If you do this," he says slowly, "if you die down there, They'll put it all on you. The contamination, the bombings, the League, everything. You'll be the monster they needed. Bruce nods once. Gotham needs a clean story, Jim, he says. It always has. They needed Harvey Dent to be a White Knight so they could live with Yellow Knight. They need the Breaker to be the face of all this so they can move on. Let them hate me. Let them blame me. Maybe then they can heal. Gordon's throat tightens. What about you? He asks. Bruce looks out over the city, his city, one last time. I was never supposed to be the happy ending, he says. I was just the bruise that reminded them something was wrong. Somewhere along the way, I started hitting back too hard. Gordon steps forward. For the first time, he puts a hand on the armor, on Bruce's shoulder. You could run, he says quietly. You could disappear, live the life Alfred wanted for you. No more masks, no more pits. Bruce almost smiles. I tried disappearing once, he says. It just made a bigger hole. He turns away before Gordon can see whatever is in his eyes. Do one thing for me, he says over his shoulder. When this is over, don't let them forget that there was a man under all this. Not a good man, not a saint. Just a man who tried, and failed, and tried again, and failed worse. Gordon nods, tears cutting tracks through the grime on his face. I'll do what I can, he says. The rest is motion and noise. Bruce moves through the city like a ghost, weaker than he's ever been in a fight, but more focused than he was as a young Batman. He knows he can't stop every bomb physically. He uses his mind instead, overloading circuits, triggering premature detonations in controlled ways, forcing evacuations. He descends into basements and sub-levels filled with League operatives. They look at him with confusion. Some think he's their leader. He uses that half-second of hesitation to disable them. His bones scream, his muscles burn. He doesn't have venom to cushion the impact anymore. Every punch costs him. He disarms 4 buildings worth of charges. At the 5th, he finds the League's leader, the man who pulled him from the pit all those years ago. You could have been our greatest weapon, the man hisses, leveling a gun at Bruce's chest. Instead, you've chosen to break yourself. Bruce chuckles bitter. I was always broken, he says. You just took the pieces and made a worse shape. They fight. It's not a young man's duel. It's brutal and short. The leader is faster, uninjured, high on zeal. Bruce is fighting time as much as an enemy. He takes bullets in the armor, knives in the plating. He breaks the man's arm, cracks his jaw, finally slams his head into a support beam hard enough to drop him. The final set of charges is wired not to a timer, but to a dead man's switch. A heavy detonator held in the League leader's hand, finger clenched around the trigger. If his grip loosens, everything goes up. Bruce pries the device from his fingers, heart pounding. The readout shows 30 seconds, a failsafe activated when the leader went unconscious. There's no way to stop it. The chain of explosives runs through the foundations of 3 buildings. If they go, they'll topple like dominoes. He has options. He can try to flee. He can try to throw the detonator away and hope the range is limited. He can scream for help. He does none of those things. Instead, he runs. He runs deeper into the sub-basement, down into the lowest point of the structure. The new pit he's chosen. The detonator in his hand beeps faster. He can feel his legs failing with each step. He reaches the central support column, a massive concrete spine holding the building upright. If it falls in a controlled way, he realizes, the others might stay standing. The blast will be channeled downward, into the ground, rather than outwards into the city. He wraps his arms around the column like a penitent at a cross. He presses the detonator tight against it. He leans his helmeted head against the cold concrete. He thinks of his parents. He thinks of Alfred. He thinks of Gotham. Its alleys and rooftops and gargoyles and gutters. He thinks of every criminal he stopped and every victim he failed. He thinks of the boys who'll grow up telling stories about the Breaker, the monster who almost destroyed their city and then died under it. He whispers through the mask, words no one will hear. I'm sorry. The device hits 0. The world disappears in fire and stone. Afterwards, Gotham does what Gotham always does. It survives. The building collapses straight down, in a terrifying but strangely controlled implosion. Windows shatter for blocks, but the neighboring towers remain standing. The dust cloud rolls through downtown like a gray tide, swallowing screams and sirens. Emergency crews descend. The League's remaining cells go to ground. The government declares the breaker dead. News footage loops a single, grainy image recovered from security cameras. A hulking figure dragging a detonator into the depths, seconds before the blast. The narrative writes itself. The breaker was the mastermind of the contamination, the attacks, the attempted destruction of the city. In a final act of madness, he triggered his own demise. Officially, he is blamed for everything. Unofficially, in the margins of memory, some people remember that he also stopped worse things from happening. Gordon stands at a podium and reads the statements they hand him. He lies a little less than they expect. We may never know the full truth of who he was, he tells the cameras. We know what he did. Some of it was monstrous. Some of it prevented greater horrors. In the end, all I can say is this. Gotham has always created its own demons. And sometimes, the men who wear those masks were once just boys who lost their way. Over the years, rumors persist. Some claim that in the final frame of the footage, before the explosion, the breaker glances up at the camera and nods, as if in farewell. Others say that Gordon has a file locked in his desk with a name on it, Bruce Wayne, and that he opens it on the anniversary of the blast, reads it, and then closes it again without saying a word. There are no more bat signals, no more pit prisons, no more Bane. Gotham limps forward. It will never know that its second near annihilation was prevented by the same man who almost caused it. But maybe that's fitting. Because in the end, maybe it was never about whether Bruce Wayne was a hero or a villain. Maybe it was about a man who could not escape the pit, not the one in the desert, not the one in his own heart, and who finally chose too late to collapse it on himself so the city above might breathe. Maybe it wasn't the mask that made the monster. Maybe it was the pit that never let go. And that's where I'm gonna call it for today. This one was a bleak one. A story about how even the best intentions can be twisted when pain goes untreated and guilt gets weaponized. But hey, I guess if we're going to visit Gotham, we shouldn't expect sunshine and happy endings, right? If you enjoyed this dark twist on Batman's legend, or if it absolutely wrecked you in the best way, let us know down in the comments. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to Comics Capsule if you haven't already, and feed the algorithm. Until then, peace out.